Morning guys, a different day today, it was sunny yesterday. Eberspächer Hydronic, it's a DS4W, stripped down, it's working fine, but it's a service. So I've got the service kit in the van, and I'm going to strip this down and give it a service and pop it back on. They're quite easy to take off, these. Obviously you've got the two hose connections there, in and out. You've got an exhaust and an air in. The mains cable, or the cable, I should say. The diesel inlet. And yeah, that's about it really. So they come off quite easily. There's a long bolt that goes through there, and that holds this to the bracket that's on the wall. So they're really quite easy to take out. Just that one bolt holds them all in, so happy days. Get this apart, and we can change all the seals. I brought it to the van because it's just a lot easier. Here's the seal kit. That comes with the new burner, gauze and everything else, all the seals there. So it's a full service, give it a good clean, and should be good for another few years. But they're all either Torx or what's the other one? Can't remember. But they're all the security screws, the star type. Right, I always keep some of the screws are all different lengths and stuff. So, right, you can see there's the fuel pump in there. They're different to the Webastos. Everything is actually in the unit. The water pump's in here, the fuel pump, the fan, everything. So, yeah, like I say, it's all in here.
Brilliant van, this, isn't it?
It's a dual purpose, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Did you do this out yourself, so?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we go everywhere in this.
Right, your coffee's there.
Okay, cheers,
Do you want
mate.
a biscuit with that?
Oh no, I'm fine, thank you. No, I'm fine. I've just had some breakfast, so.
Right.
Yeah. There's all your inside. There's no sign. I mean, this is just me pulling in spot. There's no sign of. These are the O-rings that seal the water jacket.
Right. Water
jacket's in here. There's no sign of, apart from this, which is just me.
Yeah.
No signs of leak actually on this whatsoever. Right, so that lid comes off, and within that is that's the water pump sitting in there. There's just one plug you have to undo to allow you to pull this off. And here you've got a couple of O-rings that seal the water jacket from the top lid, so they need to be changed as you go. Oh, and I've got a coffee as well, so cheers to me. I won't stay warm very long today. Right, so next step, this is the steps I take anyway, is to take this top cover off. But yeah, I always put these on a, you can see here, just on the deck there in the order I take them off, with the screws that come off for that piece, because some of the screws are different lengths. So those cable clips just hold the fuel line on that goes down to the burner. Let's pop those off. Surprised they don't give you a new fuel line, but I've never seen these perish. But surprised they don't give you a new fuel line with the. And you can see underneath now, there's the air fan, the combustion air fan that sits in there. I don't think this unit's actually ever been apart from the manufacturer, look. Still got the sticker across the join. Right, just take these two out. These are two little countersunks. Very easy to lose. That's why I'm doing it in the van, just on the step. I've got a cardboard box here for all the debris that comes out. Oh, I've got to get that one off as well, haven't I? Forgot about them two at the bottom. So there's the two little countersunks at the top, and there's the two larger ones underneath. The body is quite long, these two. Again, put them with the two countersunk ones. I'll just ease that apart gently, because you can see there's that multi-plug in there. Can you see there? That needs to be just persuaded to come out. So just lift the tag a little bit. So you see there, just lift that little tag. There's a little tag on the front, just off the clip, and then that pulls apart. You see, there's just a little tag on there, and that's the brains of the operation sat there. So now you can see this is the air pump motor here. And with a little bit of a wriggle, that bit comes off. Okay, so you can see that one bolt goes straight through, so be careful of that. One's a short one, one's a long one. And now we're starting to get into the nitty-gritty of it. And I can also so we can take this off now and pull this bit out. And that'll allow us to get into the combustion chamber. And from there we can change those gaskets that are sitting behind there. So again, there's three screws holding that in place. 3 screws left anyway, because the one goes straight through. So again, I'm just putting stuff on the step there, so I know where everything is. Okay, with a little bit of a wriggle. Now we're just going to take that mounting plate off there so I can remove the 2 sensors. So now that now comes apart. This is the combustion chamber in there, nice and clean. And this is where the flame propagates from. So that comes off again. There's the flame tube. Here's the burner and the sensor and glow plug. So you can see there's a few rings there, and there's also a gasket here, which is probably going to perish as I take it out. Normally does. It's like a little paper, cardboardy kind of gasket. But you've got to be really careful when you put the new gasket on. Before you put the new gasket on, is to make sure you get all of this old gasket off. Otherwise it won't seal properly. So you can see here, this sensor holds actually the flame gauze in place for this little clip here, so this has to come out. Now you can unplug these cables because they are going to twist a little bit, but you can do it if you're very careful by twisting the cable, which I know is not probably the best thing in the world, but you can. All you have to do is pre-twist it when you come to put it back in. So okay, so that's out now. You can see that the wires there have twisted, so this is going to relax now, so I'll make sure that that's twisted the same way before I come to screw that back in. So now this little plate comes out, which now allows me to pull out the little burner assembly. There you go. It's because there's another little O-ring in there, so it will come out, but it's quite tight in there. Right, so that's most of it taken apart. Let me just top cover, pump assembly, the brains. You saw me take the hose off. This cover just sits in place. This is the fuel pump and the heat exchanger heat exchanger assembly there, and the fan combustion assembly, and we also have the burner tube sat here, and you can see there's a bit of gasket left on there, but that's destroyed itself coming apart. So two spanners on there, and then this will separate. There we go. So this is the glow plug here, this is the flame sensor on the other side, and the gauze sits in there. And the gauze just pushes out. Oop, and bounces on the floor, but we don't want that anyway. So yeah, the gauze just sits in there. Get rid of that. So you can see in the kit, in fact before I do that, I think this is pretty clean. Yeah, it's pretty clean, this is. It's been running really well. So I'm just going to give it it's like a toothbrush. It's not a toothbrush, but that would do actually. We just want to get any build up that's sat there, but this is really clean. Really clean this one is, so it's been running really well. So yes, back to here. Here's the O-rings for the burner. So two O-rings there. Let's put them somewhere clean. You can see, I don't know if you can tell, but they are two different sizes. One's a little bit thinner than the other, one a bit bigger diameter. Put them there out the way. Right, so here you go. So the new burner tube goes inside. and the smaller O-ring, you can see that it's really tiny. The smaller O-ring comes out. There's the old O-ring. Yeah, just dropped the little burner. So there's the old O-ring coming off. And the new one going back on. Yeah, so that just sits back in there. Then we could put the burner tube in and reunite it with the glow plug. One thing to note is don't hang on that, just put that down. Don't use that tube for levering, use two spanners, like so. Right. So now this can sit back in here. And just give that a bit of a... Okay, I don't know if you can see that, so you can see that this now mates up flat to that to the bulkhead, if that's the right word. Okay, so it's a matter now of popping this clip back in. So that's going to go back up here. Yeah, and that clip goes back, and then we're going to reattach the flame sensor, making sure that we give it like a little bit of a pre-twist. So now it goes back in here. And now you can see that those cables aren't stressed anymore. Give that a little bit of a tighten up. Okay, so that's there. And what we can do now is just pop these cables the back of the motor, the fan motor, where they came from. So that sits in there, and also the flame sensor cable also sits behind there, so they're tucked out the way. If you've got any cables here, then you won't get the cover back on. Okay. So being very careful because it's aluminium. We make sure that all of that old gasket material Yep, so all that's clean. Burner tube's nice and clean as well, it's not deformed in any way, so it's nice and cylindrical, all good. So there's the two O-rings for the water jacket. So one thing I have got to make sure is this other O-ring, this other green O-ring there, sits over that burner for when we pop that in place. Do not forget that. Just make sure that surface is all nice and clean. So there's the new one that sits in there. Then the burner tube on top. you can see that this needs to be like a smiley face on the bottom, otherwise you ain't going to fit anything in. Right, okay, so that's there. You can see the smiley face on this one that matches up to it. So that sits in there like this. Right, so that's sitting quite nicely there. Just take a bit of time there to make sure it's okay. Then we've got the 4 screws. To hold that in place. Okay, so that's all back together now. Look, you can see all the cables are out the way, nice and neat. All we've got to do now is pop these back in. Just pop that on the cable. Now strangely, you don't get those O-rings in the kit, which would be nice since you've done everything else. You can see that centre with the blue cables on and the centre with the red cables. You can't get those swapped out because the cables aren't long enough to get them swapped over. Right, that cable's all there. And these cables have to sit across that junction there, making sure that you've got the rubber in place to protect them. Not enough hands. Right, these cables need to go in onto up through there. I'll show you that in a second so you can see. Yeah, so they go through the hole in the cap there, which now will sit happily back where it came from, making sure that you don't trap any of these. See, the fuel pipe just sits there with that little grommet, shall we say, and sits between those 2 posts here. Okay, now we can see about putting this cover back on. Let's put it on the right way, shall we? Okay, that's it's just in there, look. So we should hear that just click, which we have. And just making sure that you can't see any more of that orange seal, so it's in, which it is, and now that sits back. Here we go. Here we go. So if you look, everything's sitting where it should be. Right, we're getting there. Let's just get these tightened up. The key with these, taking these apart, is just a little bit of care, just a little bit of stop and think. Okay, so let's get those tie wraps on the fuel line before we forget. So there, you can see them on there now, and we're just going to snip those off. You can see now it's time to look at heater again. So you can see, if you're unsure, you can see that this hole has a screw in it. The others bolt through the cover. So we just need to pop one in there. Right, so that's that, ready for that cover. So now we can put the other cover on, making sure we put these new O-rings in. Let's get that one out, and make sure you take the other ones out. Turns over, and making sure that you've got the grommet there. Just give that a little bit of a... Oh, don't do that. Yeah, I'm just putting it back together.
Do you want another coffee?
I need for making one.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers then, thank you. Yeah, I'll always have a coffee. I've got a reputation for drinking coffee. Yeah, no, everything's burning. It's really clean inside.
Okay.
Some of your gaskets have obviously perished as I've taken them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just coming back.
How often would you recommend having it serviced?
Yeah, every couple of years.
Oh really? Right, okay.
I don't think this has ever been serviced actually, because the Eberspächer label was still over the join.
Oh, God.
So I don't think this has ever been taken apart.
Wow.
So you've done pretty well, I think.
Yeah. Well, we've had the boat 3 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it has anyway, because I've had to break that warranty seal. So it's been there for quite a while. But just make sure those O-rings have gone in properly. So just take your time, put a bit of water on them just to ease them through a little bit. One of those things you can't see once you've done it. You can't see if they're in or not. So just be very careful that they are in. Yeah, sorry, I just maybe give you some information there. So these screws go in this back cover, and the top cover goes in that hole, that one there, and that one there. So this has to have those 3 screws in. The good part is, you know, you lay it out. I'm gonna have to cut that pipe off now. You know, sometimes I'll forget, you know, I've done 100 of these, but still, you know, by laying it out and having every screw there. Yeah, sorry, you can see everything that's come out of there. So don't do it like on the grass or anything like that. Lay it out like I've done here, and then you'll see if anything's missing. To be fair, the screws, they sort of only really go in one place anyway, and if you get it wrong, you won't be able to finish the build. You know, there'll be screws in holes that shouldn't be there. Right, so let me pop another cable tie on there. That's it. Just making sure that doesn't block. You can see even I've clipped that on, and if you do, you can't get that screw in. So there you go. So that's in, that's on, that's all good to go. All I have to do now is put this top cover back on, which slots over. Like I say, if you've got screws in the wrong place, you wouldn't be able to get the cover back on. There we go. And there's surprisingly just 3 screws left.
Cool, that's an array of lights you got at the front there.
Oh, that lights the world up, that does.
Yeah,
you can't put it on when you're on the road.
No.
It's when you're stuck in a forest somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
because we go away in this for the winter. Well, we haven't this winter. Next winter we will again.
Yeah.
Down to Spain and Portugal for January and February.
Wow, nice.
So we just head off down there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, there's lots of them around.
Yeah.
Specialists. No, I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah, no,
Because
fair
as a surface kit, you don't get that sticker to put back on it, because
No,
this has got your
no,
serial
exactly.
number and stuff
No,
on. This
no,
belongs to the heater itself.
Yeah,
That's your heater ID. So I don't know how
No.
you get in there to change it, because you change the burner as well, and you've got to get this off and unplug all this to get to that, because the burner sits here.
They're very efficient, aren't they?
They are very efficient, actually.
I'm amazed at the.
Oh, I've sort of grown to like them, actually. I always thought Webasto, like I say, Webastos are modular, but actually these are quite nice. They're quite nicely made. What I like about these is it's all in one unit, whereas the Webasto, the water pump is external.
Oh,
No,
I
actually,
see.
on the new ones it is, on the Evos, and also the fuel pump's external. And so you've got quite a big wiring loom.
And this is all.
So yeah, it's all in there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's
So
a tiny unit. Like
yeah,
this.
it's quite clever, really. If Webasto heard me saying that, they'd kick me off the books. But there seem, I don't know. There's probably more Webastos than Eberspächers, I think. Certainly seems to be down here. But you know, yeah, I've come to like working on them. Actually, they're quite nice to take apart and. One thing I didn't say is that diesel line that goes to the tank, make sure you isolate that, because obviously the pump's inside. You take that off and you dump all the fuel into your engine bay. So I've turned the tap off on the tank, so none of that diesel's come out. But yeah, watch out for that. Unlike a Webasto, because the pump's already there in situ when you take the heater out. So be aware of that. Also be aware, over time, these can get a little bit brittle, so watch out for those. Right, these have got a little bleed screw on the top here. Well, yeah, that's that done then. Don't think I've done a video of an Eberspächer before, so there you go. There is another O-ring on there in the kit that fits in the water jacket, so you can get the internal out and fit an O-ring in there. I don't generally disturb that because it can be quite difficult to open up, and if you've obviously I like to leave, well, that's the way it is, I like to leave that well alone on that particular seal. If I can get out of here. So yeah, not too bad really. You can probably see the difference between that and Webasto, just because a Webasto is more modular. But one of the advantages of the Eberspächer is it's all in one unit, which I quite like actually. But hey, there you go. Don't get offended if you're a Webasto guy. And we know we're talking about Paul. So yeah, so that's that. He's running fine. He had a water leak on the system in the engine bay somewhere. He couldn't find it. It was actually one of those isolated valves I turned off at the very start. There was a drip there, so we've tightened that up for him as well. So he'll be a happy boy. It's all running perfectly fine. So yeah, happy days. Right, that's it for today. It's a Monday, so I try not to work Mondays, but I said to this customer that I'd do his Eberspächer today. And I've got a calorifier to change tomorrow. That's not electric, you say? No, it's not. I'll change a few if I need to, or I'm coerced into is probably the right answer. But they do ply me with a sausage sandwich, so there you go, and feed me lots of coffee all day, and the dog loves me. So anyway, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed that. We got some info from it. I do have the diagnostics for Eberspächer as well, so didn't need to plug that in today. Running very clean, so hey, great. Right, I waited for the barrier to open. So right, see you next time guys. Hope you found that interesting. Don't forget the old whatever it is, and yeah, and I'll see you next time.